Have you ever had one of those days or weeks or months where your team is just constantly fighting fires? You're getting pulled in a million different directions, and every single request has a giant urgent sticker on it. It is pure project chaos, and honestly, it's exhausting. But what if I told you there's a clear, structured path out of that chaos and into clarity? Well, that's exactly what we're going to walk through. The chaos usually starts pretty innocently. It's just a simple email from a customer, a totally reasonable feature request, right? But it lands directly in your inbox, completely bypassing any system you might have. It feels important, it feels urgent, and it's really just the first little drop in what's about to be a massive flood. And then the pressure starts to ramp up. A message pops up in Slack from someone on the sales team. A huge deal is on the line, but it all hinges on one feature: single sign-on. Suddenly, this isn't just a feature request anymore. It's a revenue-critical demand. It shows up informally, but man, it's got the weight of a giant contract behind it. And just to complete the trifecta, you get the drive-by idea from leadership. That hallway conversation with the CEO that plants a seed for a big, exciting, but completely unresearched new direction. So now you've got urgent requests coming from customers, from sales, and from the CEO. Seriously, where do you even start? See, this isn't just being busy. This is a state of chaos. And the real problem, the core of it all, is that when every single thing is treated as the number one priority, you actually have no priorities at all. Your team is just stuck, paralyzed, and constantly switching gears. And that churn, it doesn't just feel bad, it has a real, measurable cost. And look, this isn't some hypothetical problem. This was the cold, hard reality at a company we'll call TechFlow. A new product manager, Sarah, she walked right into this mess. They had no single source of truth, which meant priorities were changing every single day. The impact was just brutal. They completely missed their Q1 revenue target. 3 developers quit because of the stress, and customer churn was ticking up because nothing they promised was ever actually getting shipped. That is the true cost of chaos. So what was Sarah's first move? Well, she didn't try to decide which fire to put out first. Nope. Instead, she focused on building the fire truck. Her goal was to create one single source of truth for every single piece of work. And that tool is called the product backlog. Now, every word in this definition is important, but honestly, the most critical one is right at the beginning. Single. Not a list in a spreadsheet over here, and another one in a notebook, and a third one buried in an email folder. No. One list. One complete inventory for the entire team and all its stakeholders. That's it. So Sarah, she basically went on a scavenger hunt. She pulled feature ideas from her own notebook, dug up customer requests from 7 different email folders, grabbed bug reports from support spreadsheets, and even took a dashboard mock-up sketched on the CEO's napkin. In the end, she managed to consolidate 96 distinct items. And for the very first time, TechFlow could actually see everything in one place. Okay, but a giant list, that's not enough, right? An unorganized list can be just as paralyzing as the chaos it replaced. The next crucial step was to turn that collection of ideas into a ranked list of actual priorities. And the key to doing that right is to replace opinions with data. To do this, she used a simple but incredibly powerful tool called the RICE framework. What's great about this is it forces a structured conversation instead of just arguments about what feels most important. The team scored each big idea on 4 things. How many customers will this reach? What's the potential impact for them? How confident are we in our assumptions? And finally, what's the required effort from the team? And the results of this little exercise immediately ended the debates. The billing and invoice portal, which was a top customer request, it scored a massive 20. But the CEO's pet project, that analytics dashboard idea, well, it had lower reach, medium impact, and really low confidence because no one had validated it. It scored just 1.25. The data made the decision for them. The priorities were suddenly crystal clear. Okay, so with a prioritized list of big goals, the next challenge was making that list something the team could actually act on. A 45-point goal like billing portal is way too big for a developer to just, start working on. Sarah needed a way to connect that high-level company strategy to the small, daily tasks the team could actually get done. And the way you do this is by breaking the work down. Those large strategic initiatives, like the billing portal, are called epics. Think of them like chapters in a book. You don't write a whole chapter at once, you write it sentence by sentence. And those individual sentences, those are your user stories. They're small, concrete features that can be finished in a single work cycle, which is usually a 1 or 2 week period we call a sprint. So for example, that massive billing portal epic, got broken down into these much smaller, more manageable user stories like view invoice history and download PDF invoices. See? Each story delivers a specific little piece of value and can be built on its own. The giant, intimidating goal was now just a series of totally achievable steps.
So, the big question is, what did all this actually achieve? I mean, organizing work, prioritizing with data, breaking down epics, it all sounds great in theory. But what was the real, measurable impact for TechFlow?
Well, the results were just staggering. The team measures their output in something called story points. It's kind of like a rough estimate of effort. Before this whole system, their velocity, the average points they completed in a 2-week sprint, was just 15. Afterwards, their velocity more than doubled to a super stable 40 points per sprint. And get this, they weren't working harder. They were working smarter, totally focused on a clear goal without all the noise.
And that new clarity had this amazing ripple effect across the entire business. The team went from meeting their commitments only about 60% of the time to a predictable 90%. Customer satisfaction shot up from a 6.2 to an 8.4. And maybe most importantly, team morale, which was at a pretty dismal 5.8, rocketed up to an 8.7. A happy, focused team, they just build better products.
But this wasn't just about internal metrics. By shipping that high-value billing portal, they reduced their support tickets by nearly half, and, unlike the previous quarter, they confidently hit their Q2 revenue target. Taming that workflow chaos had a direct and very positive impact on the company's bottom line. TechFlow's entire transformation started with one single act, turning a scattered pile of random requests into a single prioritized backlog. This wasn't just about organizing a to-do list. It was a huge cultural shift from reactive firefighting to proactive, data-driven strategy. So that really leaves us with one final question for you to think about for your own team. Do you have a list of work that's a true backlog, driving focus and clarity, or is it just a pile that's fueling the chaos?